should I do? Should I take the existing leads and try to maximize those? Or should I, continue my marketing and get the low-hanging fruit? My first question is this just you doing deals yourself, or do you have a team of people? Because there are the 80-20 rule. So you want to spend 80% of your time on 20% of the leads that will produce the deal. But there's a sorting process that has to happen when you get a significant amount of leads coming in. So what we do is define a specific criteria on what is a potentially good lead. We have someone talk to the seller and essentially do the sorting process, making sure there's motivation, making sure there's equity in the deal, making sure that it fits within a geographic area that we know we can do a deal. And we can get more precise on that if you want. But what essentially we do is we sort through all the leads coming in. So essentially, to your question is, if it's just you doing it, you want to make sure that you're not letting leads fall through the crack. So you might be in a position at 15 to 20,000 net a month, hiring someone to do the sorting process, giving them a predefined criteria as they sort, and now you're only talking to the 20% of all the leads that will produce 80% of your revenue, if that makes sense. So let's talk about that real quick, and this is a great question. This is a scaling question. This is a strategic question, and if you don't, at 15 to 20,000 net a month, if you don't have someone, first off, I would highly recommend you hiring someone. Hire someone local. Hire someone that's good on the phone, someone that can build rapport with someone. They really don't have to know about real estate, but you can teach them the process based upon the criteria. So first off, there's two separate criteria. There's a criteria, as we do deals across the country, there's a criteria that we look at on a geographic area. Will or will we not do the deal? That's number one. And then there's the criteria of the actual seller itself. So you have to define those two criteria. The first criteria nationally that we're looking to do deals, Carson, number one is it has to be, the deals that we do best in are ones that the population is 50,000 or more, or if it's not 50,000, it's close to a major city that has 50,000 or more. That's number one. Number two is it has to have at least a minimum of 10 flippers in that market. So flippers, if you heard me talk about before, I talk about it in REI Automator. Not REI Automator, in Remote Millions. Flippers are, if you go into REI Automator, you search, there's a search selection called flippers, and in flippers are agents who represent cash buyers that have fixed and flip a property. The more flippers in a market, the better chances of you selling that property at a high price that makes sense. So that being said, 50,000 or more. Now, typically, if you have a market 50,000 or more, or it's close to a major city, you'll have the amount of flippers that meets the criteria of 10 or more, okay? So that's number one. Number two. Number three, it has to be in a neighborhood that there's other houses around it. So if you, and one of the first things we do is we do on Google Street View, and inside of Freedom Logic, why I love Freedom Logic so much and why we love using it, because one of the first things we'll do is go in and we'll search the street view. Now, you can do a complete 360 on the property, and if you don't see any other houses, or all you see is a bunch of woods, which a lot of leads, if you're focusing on a specific state like we do, we focus on 43 different states. If you focus on that state, then what's going to happen is you're going to find some there's just going to be in the middle of nowhere. They're going to be too far out. It's going to be in a wooded area. And in that case, we would essentially pass on that deal. So we like to find properties that when you do a street view, you're seeing it's in an actual neighborhood and you're seeing other houses around it, right? So that's another criteria. So we've got 50,000, 10 flippers plus, has to be in a neighborhood area. Number 3, it has to be on Zillow. As you're doing deals, especially in 43 different markets, we're getting leads coming in all across the country. It has to be on Zillow. It has to be on Zillow. It has to be a Zestimate on Zillow. If it's not on Zillow, all the properties that we couldn't sell, had problems selling, weren't on Zillow, right? The other thing too is price range. If the best deals that we have found are in the $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 range. When we go in these small markets, like there's parts of Akron, Ohio, that we targeted, and the houses are 10 to 15, 8,000, 7,000, and they're very difficult to get any significant type of spread. You can't get a $20,000 spread on a $5,000 property. It's very, very difficult to make that happen in those specific areas. So number 1, that is the essential property criteria that we define, that if I was going to hire someone, I would have that written out for them. We do. We have people that sort properties for us. And what they do is they have a defined criteria. First off, it has to meet the property criteria. If it meets the property criteria, then what we're going to do is now we're going to turn around and we're going to talk to the seller. And it's a real quick. You can go on and you can search. You put in the city, you search flippers. Okay, there's more than 10. It's on Zillow. Okay, great. The population, do a population search. Oh, it's 38,000 population, but there's 25 flippers and it's close to a major city. These are all things that can happen in a matter of minutes. This is not a 30-minute research before you actually call the seller. So you want to make sure that happens first, right? Now, if the seller that it does not meet the criteria, then we put out of area and we select that in Freedom Logic. In Freedom Logic, there's a status. It will automatically send them an email. And then we'll say, sorry, we're currently not working in your area right now. If we do end up working in your area, we'll give you, we'll give you a call back, or give us a call back, or whatever. So I can't remember what it says. It's basically just saying, hey, we're not in your area. So, we apologize. What I'm saying is double your marketing, be more, and have someone sort through these leads that you're coming in with predefined specific criteria. And then what you can do is now if you're the closer, you're only focusing on the 20% that will produce 80% of the income. Now, what will happen is those other leads, you put them into long-term follow-up campaigns. And what you're going to have this person do is, if they have time, they can make what's called soft passes to sellers. And it's a simple 60% of Zillow. That's all it is. Soft passes say, hey, listen, it looks like we're going to be around this price. And if they say no, you put them in a long-term follow-up campaign. Inside of Freedom Logic, it could be long-term follow-up campaign. So now the criteria of the seller. Well, how soon would you like to sell? ASAP is the right question, right answer. And then where would you like to be on price? Now, we want to be at 60% or less of Zillow, right? That's where we want to be on that. Now, I know Zillow's not the wherewithal be all. I know Zillow's not, doesn't have perfect comps and stuff like that. But the thing with Zillow is 99% of the buyers out there look at Zillow as a baseline comparable. They're going to look at that as a baseline comparable. So if you deviate, if you're like 80% of Zillow or 90% of Zillow, it's going to be very difficult. Even if you see other comps in the area, they're a lot higher, right? So we found that if we're 60% of Zillow, then we're able to sell the properties quickly. That means we have to get it less than 60% of Zillow. And guess what? When you get lots of leads coming in, you'll get this low-hanging fruit that we're talking about, and you'll consistently do more deals. But you can easily take that to 150 to 200,000 a month easily by increasing your lead count, basically broadening the states that you target based upon my remote millions, what I talk about. So now you're adding states, you're increasing your marketing budgets, and what's happening now is you're getting more leads coming in. And as these leads coming in, you're sorting them out, and you're only talking to the hot prospects. Now, what if this happened? So we have our top closers, right? And we have sorters for our top closers. They're sorting all through the leads, and they're teeing up to our top closers the best deals, properties that are in the perfect area, properties that are on Zillow, properties that have the flippers, sellers that want to sell ASAP, sellers that are highly motivated. Imagine only talking to low-hanging fruit, right? You'd be popping deals left and right. So the thing becomes, especially when the marketing strategy that we talk about is that you're going to get an influx of a lot of leads coming in. A lot of them are going to be trash, and a lot of them are going to be incredible. I mean, we got a deal in California yesterday that will be about a $250,000 wholesale deal. Now, you will get whales. We closed the deal the week before, a $67,000 deal that came off pay-per-click advertising lead that came in, and we got it under contract in a day. It was a 2-call close, and then sold it $67,000 profit in a week. So imagine you getting a lead in today, and a week from now you have a $67,000 deposit in your account.